Hello and welcome back. 9:05 Tuesday morning sales video. Stop the music. So pretty decent sales, and I realized yesterday. Stop. So I realized on yesterday's video I didn't put at the end a screenshot of what that was. So of what the sales were, but I try to remember. Anytime it's well over 200, I try to remember. So today's sales are, fairly interesting, and there's one particular book that I want to go over in regards to how I managed to get double than what all the other sales have been over the past 3 years for one particular book. There was another sale. That's I'll post a screenshot when I talk about it in the video. Let's find out what's sold. First, we have these three Taekwondo Jung and Chunggun Toy Gi, $40. I don't remember where I got them. But anything, I either pay $2 each, so it'd be $6, or less than that. The Sue Record Story box set. So open this up, and there's different CDs in here. There's 4. The Sound of Soul. I'm trying to open one up. And this is Gene Wells. And this is $45. Usually I don't buy box sets. Coffee's done. Box sets that are roughly at that $40 range, but it's still kind of like a little larger book. I should probably get 40 plus. It's Paul Moriart CD 17. So in a video that's probably toward the end of December, maybe beginning of January, I made a video on why I picked the CDs and DVDs I do, and I just had randomly picked one, and this is one of it because it just has an interesting cover. So I just remember that because I remember this girl sitting on a rocking chair and kind of describing that. And then when I went to list them, I realized that this was not really a good example to use for that example in that video. But eventually, it did sell like 9 months later for $17. All right, this Birth of a Nation. I got this saying that there weren't any listed or whichever is in the sourcing video. I don't remember a whole lot about it, but I do remember when I was looking it up, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna get much for this one. And I think there's maybe 2 that have sold in 3 years. This one would be number 2. Just not a real fast selling one. I think The Birth of the Nation is one, the movie of the 2 that does sell more often, but still got 11 out of it. Now I'm going to talk about the book that I said that I was going to talk about more over for this specific video. So this is Evils of the Cities by Talmage. And it's a 1907 print. And here we go. And I remember saying in the sourcing video that the only other one listed, the guy has in it that it's signed. And it's not signed. This is the exact same script that's in the other listing that the guy has in there that it's signed. And it's everything is lining up exactly the same. So if he sells his stating that it's signed and it's really not signed, going to run into a lot of problems. Look at it, and it's in way, way worse condition than this. So that is kind of one of those key things that, as a seller, kind of ensure your accuracy in your descriptions and your listing. That's going to save some headaches. This I want to put in the antique. Anything close to about 100 years, I'm going to put in the antique and collectors. Um, if it's a 1935, that'll probably still go in there. But if it's a 1940, that's just going to go in regular books. It's, antique completely varies on what you consider. I mean, what you consider to be antique or vintage or retro or MCM. Those all kind of have a subjective time frame and meaning. But for me, for antiques wise, for books or that category that I'm going to have to be able to put something in antique, it's going to be close to 100 years. If it's 1938, that's going to go in books. If it's 1932, it's going to go in antique. 1907, obviously. All right, so the whole story behind this. So there's the one that signed. It's not. He has up to $300. Going to Terapeak. You'll see the screenshot probably a couple times. So this sold for $65. Actually, the guy came in and sent a counter offer of me knowing that this book here, I'm probably not going to get anything of the $88 I was looking for. And that's just on the pricing on how I do it. I was like, I'll just start a little higher, bring it down, bring it down, bring it down, see what happens. Being that it was this one and then the other one, someone's just ultimately going to pay 4 times less, if five times less, for one that actually has good pictures and isn't purporting it to be signed. I didn't write any of that in there because I was able to tell the difference. And even at that, with the signed, even at age, you're able to tell because there's going to be impression, like a physical impression, where whomever wrote whichever where, you could tell that the page has been impressed. And this is not, you could even usually put your finger over it. You kind of feel there's a little difference. So I do find and sell signed books, but I don't put signed in the title unless I can confer with some other example somewhere. All right. So the other ones is in the screenshot. You saw like the max total for the next sale value wise below this was like $30. This sold for 65. So it's going to be a difference of condition, right? So this whole thing is all nice and shiny. There's a little bit of wear right down here, kind of like maybe somebody spilled coffee on it or a little drop of water or something. But the graphic still has all this little paint and stuff that's on it. I don't know exactly the ink. I don't know exactly what it's called. I know it's a different type of ink. And the spine is all still nice and clean. I mean, for it being well over 100 years old, almost 120 years old, it's very clean. The back cover is clean. I mean, it does have a few spots on it for being 120 years old. Even the top edge does have a little bit of minor spotting. This is just going to be minor environmental spotting. It's not really going to be foxing, because if it was foxing up here, it starts to continue right around the corner. And it's really not. So this is just like an environmental, just a little bit of moisture in the air and some dust and debris, right? And even the bottom. The pages are clean. It's always interesting to see these old pictures. So the picture is Joseph sold into Egypt. It's not the one I was going for. I wasn't. Use your amusements. Playing Spin the Boy, I guess. Amusements. Let the young men now arise and play before us. 2 Samuel 2:14. There are two armies encamped by the pool of Gibeon. The time hangs heavily on their hands. One army proposes a game of sword fencing. That's a dangling participle. One army proposes a game of sword fencing, period. Grammar has changed throughout the years, I suppose. Nothing could be more helpful and innocent. Okay, so those are three different sentences. So any more, those would be broke up by a semicolon or a hyphen. They're participles. 12 men against 12 men, the sport opens, period. But something went adversely. Period. Yeah, so that's a whole bunch of dangling participles. Well, that's interesting. But I don't remember where I got the book. It'd be in the sourcing video. I want to say I got it down in like the Orville, down where the Smucker's headquarters is. I want to say I got it down there. And if I did, it was $1.50. But that was just kind of the whole point of what this part of the video was. So how is it that I got more than double than what all the other sales are through Terapeak for the book? That's part of commanding price and commanding your non-BS. A book that's more tattered. Now, granted, the other person that has the book that they're saying is signed and it's not signed has it up for 300. And if you didn't really have a gauge to go off of, yeah, you could post it at that, kind of see what happens. If you use and you go into Terapeak, you see, if you see something listed for $300, and then you go into Terapeak and you see that, at best you might get 80. You're like, oh, I was hoping for the 3. However, 1 in the hand is better than 2 in the bush. So if most likely that book will never sell, and if it does, he's just going to take a best offer, a really, really, really deep best offer on it. And if it's a savvy buyer, they'll be like, dude, I looked in product research in Terapeak and I could see they've never sold for that, or whichever, right? So there's all different types of avenues and critiques that can go on with that. But the using that Terapeak, and I looked and I saw, well, I'm going to figure that my only other competition would have been that other book that's listed. And knowing that they don't sell for that, I'm like, well, let me just go ahead and start mine close to $100 and just keep bringing it down. So when the buyer came in and sent me a counter offer of 65, I knew, just by remembering doing a little bit of research for this book, that I should probably jump on that while I can. I'm not going to hit decline and then be like some other videos that I've seen and the way past, be like, oh yeah, well, they sent me an offer and I declined, and I still have that item 2 years later. For the most part, I'm not like that, because I could just get what I get and it sells. And if you use your 90-day sales more properly, and especially if you're using Terapeak, you could get a better gauge on what you should list for. You can list for whatever you want, but what you should list for if you're in the market for something to sell at a more likely rate. And so is what I did by selling it for 65. And anytime someone were to come across this book again and want to buy it to sell it, they can go into Terapeak and they'll be like, oh, one sold for 90, another one sold for 65. The one that sold for 65 sold pretty recent. And then you can look at the other ones and the pictures aren't so well. And if you click on the picture, you really can't go on the listing. You click on the picture and you can scroll up and down on the picture. And so by listing high and then having something sell for a higher price helps bring the average sale, or even just kind of introduce the higher price of items back in the market. That's what I like to try to do. I do like to get those few extra bucks. And then there's times when I'll sell something that's 35% off of what the listed price is, just because it's not going anywhere. Get it and gone. Is that going to completely kill the market? No, because chances are, if I'm selling it 35% off, I've probably had it for a year, and there probably aren't many listed. And it probably doesn't sell fast anyhow for anybody to really make some sort of calculated assessment judgment to where, oh, that one sale just completely killed the market. I know things like that happen, especially in the comic book market, which I don't do comic books, but I do watch some of these videos. I think it's called like slabbing or something like that, when you have other sellers that post, let's just say, a comic book that should sell for $1,000. Somebody goes in and starts selling them for $300-400. There's a specific website or a database that people use. Yeah, monkey. We know monkey because she's got all the white furs right here. She also has. Okay. So enough about that. I think kind of get the point. Be good with quality pictures. Be accurate in your listing. If what you have is very clean, make sure you get nice close-up pictures of that, and do what you can to command that higher price that something is going to get, that might get double of what the more average selling price is. All right, on to the next. Again, these videos aren't really scripted. When the sale came in, I'm just like, you know what? I could probably talk about that. So that is kind of like a scatterbrain explanation. In some degree, I hope that something out of that does help. All right. Indians in Pennsylvania. I don't remember where I got this one, or even when, for that matter. May 3rd of this year. So got 19. All right, this is a FYC for your consideration. So these are typically larger than a standard DVD case. So these are either going to be for pilot episodes or for awards. And so in this case, it would have been for Netflix. So I had a couple of different series of these, and this one sold for 18. That's the last one of those. Bolo on car manuals, right? So this is one I got at Savers in Parma. As a matter of fact, I even plugged John at Small Time Bookseller in regards to be on the lookout for car manuals. There was a 2025 Honda Civic one I just saw, and those ones are only like $10. This is probably a little more because it's more specifically the type of tuner, and it's a little older. And I got $60 for it. 60. Denzel Curry, Taboo, CD. Oh, 28. Yep, 28. All right, so this David Bowie, I think I picked up for $1.50. It's an X library. I remember I was saying in the sourcing video that it's not a heavily printed. There's not a whole lot of copies of there out there, or even if you just type it up, you're going to see there's not a lot of them out there. Brand new, they're like $30. This is obviously X library, so it'll bring the price down quite a bit, but the title itself still sells. So I bought it for $1 or $2, whichever, and it sold for 22. Brum, 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 brum. Brum. 48. This more likely, because of the box that I got it from, more likely came from Mayfield Goodwill. I went in there one time, they just had the racks were completely full. And went through a whole bunch of these box sets, different types of box sets. And there are only like 3 or 4 that I came back with out of looking at maybe 100. Some I had to more specifically hand type, but still 48 for this one. Song praises to Jehovah's Witness or Jehovah or whichever. Woke up with a offer with a message and like, hey, I'm a Jehovah's Witness, and we go, we use these specific books. I'm looking for the purple one, but the songs on there are the same. It'll be a blessing if if I can get this for $10, which have you. I'm like, sure. I mean, you sent me a message. I'm not religious, but you're out there. You're doing something good and deedful. Being that I had it listed for $11.50 and you want it for 10, yeah, I'm not going to argue. But yeah, well, $10 book sale. All right. So, this is what I meant. So I did not put the screenshot, and I did not say this in the end of last video, of yesterday's sales video. All right. So where am I at? 25. All right. So that's 393 in sales and 382 product cost received. Going in the day after payout, that's pretty good for me wise, and just the consistency of the stuff in the listing and the selling to start the week off with over 300 in the spendable funds for the day after the payout, right? So, the payout was 3 a.m. my time this morning. Was good to start the whole cycle over again with over 300. And if that keeps the proper pace, that makes for a really good payout. And in order to really keep that pace going, I need to keep going out to stores. Now, granted, I only go out for maybe 5 days a week. And sometimes I'm out for anywhere from 3 hours, sometimes 6 or 8. Today, I'm headed out to Ashtabula. So there's 3 stores, 4 if I count going to the Goodwill up here in Menor. Typically don't have a whole lot coming back on those, but just never know. I can go on that Goodwill and they could have a whole bunch of 1960s first edition Robert Heinlein Stranger in a Strange Land books, right? You never know what there's going to be. And that would go with pretty much about the same thing with any category, but I find it, and I believe that most thrift stores, when it comes down to media, is like, we could just get so many books, we get so many DVDs. We don't care what they are. We're just going to put them on the shelf. That's my theory with a lot of stores. There are some stores that do kind of are more privy in the value based off of some authors or some artists or stuff. Books, moreover, most savers, sometimes like a really good valuable book can be priced by $6, $7, $8. For the most part, no, they're all going to be 50 cents to $3. All right. So that's going to wrap that one up. So if you like what you heard, like what you saw, like what you learned, take quality pictures, keep them close, describe it right, and you can command a much higher price than of what others have sold for. Tell me you think you're going up. Comment down below. Subscribe, share. Those are all free. They help me, help you, so we can help other people. We're going to learn how to buy media to sell on eBay. Appreciate it. Thank you.